I forgot about it immediately.
Okay, so now I'm going to try to share my screen. Okay, somebody needs to remind me. I'm blanking.
Excuse me.
How do I do it?
It should be at the bottom of
Yeah,
your
it's a
screen, Elizabeth.
share screen. Yep.
Yep.
And then one participant can share. And
Oh,
then
so you don't want to click. There should be just the big button you want to click, not the little one with the arrow.
oh, there it goes. There it goes.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, super. Thank you, Kira.
Yeah.
Okay, so today is February 24th, and we're just going to go right through. Here is the agenda for today. A brief overview of the commission for people who may not be that familiar with it. Some recognition of outstanding leadership work. Then 4 groups are going to be reporting on some of what they've been up to. And then we'll finish with talking about what we're doing at the SFAA meetings, with our blog, and finally the conference called Building Careers in Anthropology. So a welcome to first-time participants and to returning members. Thank you so much for being here today. And an update of the overview of this commission. You can see what our vision is. We hope to integrate practice and scholarship into anthropology programs so that students will be prepared for a diverse set of careers. Our participation among associations continues to rise, as well as our participation by individuals. We're on a 1-year time frame to do the fundamentals, and we're right on schedule. We currently have 7 work streams in progress. So there's your overview. And here, just to give you a sense of where the 7 groups are, 3 of them are in phase 2, groups 5, 6, and 7. As a matter of fact, Nazia Hussein's group, which is group 7, just really got launched in January. Then we have 4 groups that are in phase 3. So you can see we're really moving ahead overall. These are all of the associations to date that have been willing to support us and spread the word about what we are doing. It's quite a nice group. It's cross-field. It ranges from the national level associations to local practitioner organizations. And now some member recognition. So I identified people that I thought had really been killing themselves to get some work done this particular round. And Ryle stands out as the leader of group 1. He will talk to you momentarily. And Kira, Claire, and Matt stand out as leading group 2, and they will talk to you also. And then for group 3, Jennifer and Michelle. And for group 4, Janelle, Angela, Sergio, and Peter. So thank you to all of you, because you all have been putting in an extraordinary amount of effort over the last couple of months. So what have the groups been up to? And group 1, which is led by Ryle, that is the one that is focused on what are the gaps in training that need to be closed. And Ryle, you tell me when you want that next slide, if you want it immediately or.
Yeah, go ahead and put it up.
Okay.
You may remember, and if you don't, email me and I'll send you the report, but we did a Delphi survey and we did it in 2 rounds. And round 1, I've already reported on. I won't go over that again, except to say that round 1 surfaced a couple of things that triggered round 2. And so round two, which we finished up a few weeks ago, asked 2 additional questions of people. We went back to our respondents and we said, what kinds of methods? You mentioned methods in round one. Now tell us specifically what sorts of methods are you using in your work? And the second question that again came out of what they'd said to us in round one was, you mentioned that you felt it would be good to have some training or some work on explaining anthropology to other people. So we turned that question around and we said to our respondents, what sorts of questions do people ask you about anthropology? So you can see what the responses are here, I think. With the methods, Elizabeth and I are still sort of trying to figure out, there were a lot of methods mentioned. I didn't put the N up here, but the N is about 150 for responses. And they break down in some interesting ways. There are some ones that Elizabeth and I think are sort of traditional methods, the kinds of things that, yeah, you would think, right, most anthropology programs would teach people. But in the second group, there were a whole bunch of brand new things, some of which neither Elizabeth or I really know what they are, but we looked them up. And so I found out a little bit about data scraping, I found out about wireframing and so forth and so on. And these are things that some of you probably know all about, but I didn't. Well, we broke them up into these sort of 3 areas: traditional things, newer things, let's put it that way, and then processes. People didn't give us methods, they gave us procedures, which I think is important. And that uses several methods. So one way to look at it is in terms of methods for finding things out, and then a second category of methods for getting things done. Well, we're going to think a little bit more about that, and we will be producing a second report eventually, but I just want to share that with you right there. Moving on, question 2, what sorts of questions do we have? This was simpler to figure out. They fell into 3 basic categories. One was, gosh, what's that? And, you know, the usual stereotypes, stones, bones, dinosaurs, that stuff like that. I mean, people who just have no idea. Second set of questions were things like, well, how does it work? And this
to the northeast, in Kharkiv, Ukraine. CNN's.
Sorry. This involves people talking about what are the methods, what's the approach, what's different, sort of thing. And then the third set of questions, and this was the biggest number of responses that we got, was people wanted very specifically to know, so how is this going to help us in doing what we do? And we thought those 3 kinds of questions were very, very interesting and very important for instructors when they talk to students about how to talk to other people about anthropology. Because if you just open up an anthropology textbook and start reading the first couple of pages to people, their eyes are going to glaze over. So these are the kinds of questions that people will ask. And I think we need to sort of think about how we prepare students to answer those questions. There were some residual questions about like very specific things that you would ask an anthropological consultant. And then there were sort of questions about, gee, why'd you pick that as a major? We didn't think those were terribly important. So I'll stop there, but that's the preliminary set of findings that we have. Elizabeth and I are working on them a little bit more. There will be a short report later on. If you want more detail in the meantime, go ahead and email me and I'll be glad to talk to you. Thanks.
Thanks, Ryle. Okay, group 2, Kira and Claire, and I don't think Matt is able to be here today.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if Claire's here either, but I'm happy to present on behalf of group 2. Elizabeth, would you mind sharing the permissions with me to share my screen?
So stop share, right?
Yep, if you stop share, and then at the bottom of Zoom, where the share screen is, there's that little arrow.
Yep, multiple participants, and now you should be okay.
Beautiful, thank you. All right, where are we at? Great, so group 2 has been working on creating a repository of all of the materials related to practice. And we've categorized them, we've organized them over the past few months, and we finally uploaded them onto the Career Readiness Commission website. Really exciting. We are still a work in progress in terms of making sure the data is reflecting appropriately, making sure that it's the most user-friendly and searchable that it can be. But in the coming weeks, it will be fully functional. I mean, it's already very functional, but it'll be fully where we're hoping it will be. So as you can see here on the Career Readiness Commission website, under the Resources tab, we've been working under the Career Related Materials tab. And so you can click here to view the materials. And here you will see them listed as the resource, the format it's in, whether it's a report, a podcast, an article, etc. We've created 4 main categories that they fall into: the history and current state of applied and practicing anthropology, teaching and pedagogical approaches, careers in industry, nonprofits, and government, and career and professionalism resources for job search, professional development, etc. We then have the author, the year, and the source. And so as you can see here, if you scroll down to the bottom and you select all resources, we have 265 resources uploaded to the website. And in the coming weeks, we're hoping to get that above 300. And these even include softwares and tools that practitioners use in the field. So it's really quite robust. One of the great features, sorry, while I scroll back to the top here, one of the great features of the repository is when you click into a resource, you will be prompted to create an account, and that's to give you access to the link where the resource sits online, as well as the PDF in cases where we were able to get permission to share the PDF. So I'll show you what that looks like here. When you log in, you'll be able to see more information, and then I can go ahead and grab this link and navigate to where that resource sits online. So in addition to listing out the materials, we're also giving users the ability to access them, which is sort of great, one-stop shop for them to find information. I also wanted to point out the search format. Let me see if it'll let me scoot back here. And so the search format is really great, allowing users to be able to find information that they're looking for. For instance, if I'm looking for something related to organizational anthropology, I can type in organization. I'll see here a bunch of articles, resources related to organizational anthropology, things that have come from human organization. I can also look for things that come from CRM. Oops, maybe it was archaeology. Yep, so we have some archaeology resources. We are in the process of continuing to add bio and archaeology resources, as most of group 2 sort of fell on the cultural side. But yeah, so that is our repository. We're really excited and really proud to have it up on the website and functional. And in the next few weeks, it's going to become even more user-friendly with some of the additional enhancements we're going to make on the searchability side. And that's everything for group 2.
Yeah, that's an amazing resource. I was just playing with it last night, and I started putting in people's names and just seeing the number of materials that pop up under a given person's name. It just shows you how easy it is to search, and how many articles have already been incorporated into the resources. So I can't tell you how much time Kira, Claire, Matt, and others have spent putting this thing together. Matt, who couldn't be here today, is really the IT, not just a webmaster, but really an IT guru, in the sense that when there is a problem, he has to do programming in order to fix the problem, and he's the guy that can do the programming. So we couldn't ask for a better set of people working on this. It's just fabulous. So let me go back to my screen. All right, so that was group 2 on the training materials. And now we're going to go to group 3. And Jennifer, tell me when you want to show the other slide.
Okay, yeah, you've got the handout on the other one?
Yes, uh-huh.
All right, great. Yeah, so group 3 were originally tasked with focusing on the differences across different work sectors. But I will say our sample was about 17, so we didn't really have enough to parse out down to that level, but we had some really great insights from the 17 practitioner interviews we did, focused on the topics of hiring, skills used in their work, as well as feedback they had that they wanted to share with their previous departments in the field. Similar to the Delphi, methods really floated to the top as something that people had, used in their work, wish they learned in school, as well as would like to continue to receive training on. Also, we really found that networks play a big role in terms of people finding jobs and securing them. And there was a big interest in developing stronger networks between practitioners. So we have some sort of high level recommendations for the Career Readiness Commission specifically, but also for departments. And then sort of the field in general. So I'll just hit through some of these just as like high level notes, and then go into some of the products that we're going to be producing out of the report. So the report's finally finalized. I'm assuming Matt's going to put it on the website at some point if it's not there already. But for the Career Readiness Commission, one recommendation we had was creating a directory of practitioners. So this would be people that are open to doing informational interviews and interested in doing networking. So I think that was maybe already on your radar, Elizabeth, but that's one of the outputs that we could have from this work, as well as exploring like what are the other ways we can create connection. So, with Zoom, it's a lot easier to bring people together if you want to do a monthly meetup. So how can we build community between practitioners, as well as creating a resource for translating skills into the sort of like language and vernacular that employers use. So that's actually going to be one of the products that I'm working on, will be sort of a skills translator tip sheet that would be available at the SFA meeting for people to pick up and on the website as well. And one that we've already produced, and if you want to go ahead and you can share it, Elizabeth, is this handout. So this is a product of the interviews as well as some online research we did. So this is obviously not exhaustive of all the possible titles anyone could have, but it's a good sort of starting point for if you're trying to look for a job using your anthropology degree. What do you start putting into the LinkedIn search in terms of finding jobs? So this is just sort of one of the sort of quick hit resources that we've developed out of this work. And then moving on to the recommendations for departments. Again, methods, I won't go into the details there, but yeah, that's one of the top ones. And then in terms of skill sets that aren't available within our anthropology curriculum, really encouraging students to go outside of their departments and use like freely available resources to give them the sort of skills and training that they need for the roles that they're interested in terms of the future career. As well as just, recognizing, and I don't think anybody on this call has a challenge with this, that, tenure track jobs aren't the end all be all in terms of an anthropology career. And then for the field as a whole, a couple points that might be good for you guys to think about is talking about money. So like, what are salaries that are reasonable? How do we compensate people fairly? And what should people be expecting in terms of being paid for their labor? And what are the trade-offs in terms of, time spent in school versus career level earning? And then just sort of the last note is, really making sure we offer continuing education opportunities for practitioners. So I'll go ahead and pass it on back to Elizabeth.
Yeah, that was great. A great summary, Jennifer. Thank you. One of the things I want to point out is that we've started to settle on this one pager, one of which is shown right here on the screen, because we think that they're easy to glance at and use as a tool. So if you are a student, or if you are an instructor, or if you are a practitioner, these one pagers have a lot of information condensed on them. And basically at a glance, you can get at that information very, very simply, very easily. So we'll have these kinds of one pagers available on our website. We will use them at conferences, put them on a booth someplace, people can pick them up, and who knows where else they might end up. Now we're going to go to group 4, departmental practice initiatives. Angela?
Yes, and in full disclosure, I have a 3-month-old napping literally in my arms and somebody building a deck. So if there's disruptions, I apologize in advance. Group 4, yes. So I had to take a little bit of a break. So Janelle was amazing and stepped in for me while I was out on maternity leave. But circling back, lots of really good things. If you remember the wheel that Elizabeth mentioned, where there were the 4 or 3 phases, we're kind of in the early to middle part of phase 3. We're still working on our report. That has been, going through rounds of compilation and then has been released to the larger group of group 4 to review. So if you're in group 4, just another reminder, please get your edits, comments, questions, additions in. We'd love to see those so we can wrap up this first round of the report and our SFA presentation. If you wouldn't mind letting me share my screen as well, Elizabeth.
Oh, sure.
Just really quick. All right.
Yeah, I think you're okay. You can do it.
Okay. So just wanted to give folks kind of a view and also a little bit of a shout out. As this is apparently reformatting, of course. So one of the things that we are sharing as well is there was a companion piece that was completed by a graduate class of UNT, led by Susan Squires. And so we decided early on with group 4 in terms of data collection that they would move forward with asking kind of a companion set of questions. This is now on the commission website for folks to go through. It includes, their methods, their high-level takeaways, just a great piece of work that helped inform our own analysis and is seen as a foundational companion piece. And then, as I said before, the group 4 report is in a working draft, but also another round of shout outs for data collection. Amy, Andrew, Angela, David, Janelle, Catherine, Kendall, Ritu, and Sergio. And then Peter, Sergio, and Steve took a really strong first pass at analysis and written summary. So this is a document that's in progress. Ryle and Elizabeth have been amazing in helping kind of pull things together and generate the most salient insights. And then from that, you can see our SFA presentation. Again, just a little bit of a sneak peek. For those of you who aren't as familiar with group 4, we did semi-structured interviews with faculty members, and we wound up speaking with 13 individuals, and our focus was on questions about what has been tried in your department in terms of applying and integrating applied practice, what was successful or not, why did things turn out, and what advice. So very similar to group 3 in terms of generating kind of insights and recommendations. I will say along the way, we did find a few tidbits maybe that we weren't originally expecting. So understanding and wrapping our heads around example formats of where applied approaches appear. So standalone certification programs, applied programs. Another example is this really great kind of continua, if you will, of types of application and practice and kind of how it can start as simple as just a single in-class activity all the way to something that would be much more involved with financial aid and the registrar at universities to do major, minors, internships, practicums, etc. So still very much in the works, but pulling it all together, lots of really great insights, and then ultimately generating some recommendations. For those who are familiar with Lean Six Sigma, they do kind of a stop, start, strengthen approach. And so using this framework to say, how do we minimize negative factors, introduce new factors, and build positive ones? These are just 12 of the, oh my gosh, probably 40 things that we've identified. And same with the other groups, we're generating a one-pager, which I do believe if I stop sharing, can show really quick, Elizabeth.
Yep.
Perfect.
Okay, so here is the one pager that we have.
We can see it. Yep.
Yeah, you want to go ahead through it then, Angela? Or do you
Yeah,
want-
sure. I mean,
Yeah, go
without
ahead.
reading everything bullet
Yeah.
by bullet point, it's just distilling down some of the big takeaways that are much more action oriented. So thinking about, continuity of applied courses, right? So creating not just one champion professor if they retire or move institutions, but really institutionalizing applied efforts within programs and departments. Thinking about career-oriented professionalism earlier in programs as opposed to waiting until you're a senior to introduce this concept. And then things like encouraging interdisciplinary work through courses and projects, really those tandem projects with either schools of engineering or health science. There's lots of opportunities. So just like with group 3 and the other groups, trying to distill this down into a simple takeaway that's a bit more action oriented for people to reference.
Great, thank you so much. And I'll just say a word about this too. These bullet points seem to be the big heavy hitters that we were able to glean from the data set that we had. That doesn't mean that there aren't others, but these are the ones that we noticed. These are the ones that resonated with a number of us who reviewed these this report so far. And so we think this is a pretty good list to which we can add in the future. Ryle, would you mind talking about SFAA and where we will be?
Sorry, I was sneezing a minute ago. I turned myself off. I'm back now. Yes. So, okay, we're going to be at SFAA and we have all sorts of stuff going on. Elizabeth has been very, very forward thinking and active. And so we're going to have a table. We're going to have a banner. We're going to have swag. We're going to have people at the booth. I mean, you know, come one, come all. That will be a big deal, I think. But we're also going to be on the program. And so we have 2 workshops going on. One is the one that I have given in past years on becoming a practicing anthropologist. I change it a little bit every year. I hope it improves. I think it does. So it is starting to incorporate some of the data that we are getting from our working groups. So that's the improvement for this year. And the second workshop is one that Nazia is going to organize. And that is about taking some of the data that we got off of our work groups and helping people figure out how to put some of that stuff into the curriculum. We're going to focus on things like how do you improve the way you teach methods? How do you improve the way your students communicate with the public? You know, writing, public presentation, op-eds, video, so forth. And also, how do you explain yourself to employers and to colleagues and clients? So those are 2 good workshops that we've got organized. And then we want to report out for all of the work groups that we have in 2 sessions that are linked back to back. They start early in the morning and they just go right through till noon. Session 1, Elizabeth is going to chair that one, and that's the first 3 groups. Part 2, I'm going to chair that one, and that's going to be the second 3 groups. And along the way, Elizabeth is going to talk about what the Career Readiness Commission is, how it got formed, what it does, what its intentions are. And in my part 2, I'm going to talk a little bit more about what did we learn? What are the lessons learned so far with this? So that is where we are. And I would encourage all of you to encourage your colleagues and friends to attend these sessions, but I am particularly interested in getting you to help us publicize this workshop for instructors. That's the one that is right up there at the second bullet down, because that is going to be, I think, very, very interesting for people in terms of helping them to actually operationalize some of the stuff that we've come up with. So that's going to be a very interesting discussion, I think, in the afternoon. Nazia is going to do that, and Elizabeth and I are going to be co-trainers, I guess you'd call it, for that. What else, Elizabeth? Have I missed anything?
The only thing is, on that particular workshop for instructors, we hope that we will have some practitioners who are in the workshop, so that they can be sort of subject matter experts of the workplace, wherever they happen to work, and can provide input into the discussion as well.
Yeah, we do. This is primarily for the benefit of instructors, but as Elizabeth's just finished saying, the more actual practitioners we get into it, the better the instructors will be able to, as it were, test out some of their ideas and approaches. We're also interested, though, in having students come in, because students will be able to sort of get an idea of how this could be done for them, either in their current program or in their next program or by themselves. So everybody's going to benefit from this, but yeah, instructors are the main ones. I saw something in the chat just a minute ago. Will the workshops be on the ground? You
the
mean
ground.
live? Yes, yeah, they'll be live, yeah.
Yeah, and we're talking about the possibility of using Zoom or some other means to capture them. We haven't fully settled on that yet, but that may be a possibility. And in which case, you know, with the various permissions that we might need to get for that, we should be able to post something like that on the Career Readiness website. Susan, Andriata, you had a question or comment?
I had a comment. I put it in the chat. Jennifer and I and two other of our colleagues, we recently published an article about how to get jobs and statements, steps to take, and we published in Practicing Anthropology, and I think it came out in December of 2021. And the four of us will be at SFAA on the Saturday at 9 a.m. again with this theme, how to get a job in post-COVID times, but we are synchronous and a roundtable.
Okay.
And so for those people who aren't able to be on the ground and there, and I just saw a message about federal regulations and not being able to travel, we'll be online, and that'll create another opportunity for those who can't be there face-to-face with you and Ryle. We can get the online folks.
Great.
And it's on the weekend, so it shouldn't interfere with people's being at work if they happen not to be working on it. So I think we have a good time slot.
Great.
I just remember it's Utah time.
Right. And there were two other hands, but I can't see whose hand. So you'll just have to shout out.
This is Corliss. Actually, my federal regulations wasn't, well, no, we aren't able to travel, but it was also around the pre-registration. I wasn't able to, because I was actually supposed to be on a panel dealing with practice anthropology, but for the agency that I work for does not do pre-registration.
Okay.
You know, and so that was kind of a hiccup. As a matter of fact, they just asked me, "Oh, are you still planning to attend SFAA?" And I was like, no, because it was, you know, the deadline had passed. And I didn't know if it will always be like that in terms of, when I say pre-registration, I guess registration prior to submitting the abstract or whatever. Because I did tell them I will see, I thought the registration was closed and there was no way to register at this point.
I don't know if that's accurate. Sherry's coming in now, but maybe somebody else knows the answer to that.
I feel like you can buy day of registration.
Yeah, you can always register to come. You just won't be on the program and you won't be able to probably participate in the session, but you can attend either virtually or face to face.
Okay, so how would I be able to can I do
you
that
can register online right now to participate. Okay. No problem. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I'll let them know. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And Susan, on the session that you are running on Saturday, If you have materials from that, please, after the meetings are over, share them with Kira and Claire so they can be posted on our resources page.
And I've emailed Kira while you were chatting.
Oh,
and
okay.
and I gave her the link to our article so
Oh,
that
good.
she can post it as well.
Wonderful. Thank you. There's still chat going on. So again, you'll just have to sing out if you want to say something. Okay, well then let's continue. We only have a few more slides and then we can chat. I wanted to point out for those of you who aren't really in the habit of going to the website on a regular basis, we are starting to get some really interesting posts on the World of Work blog that we have. The posts come out about every other week. And these 3 topics that are listed here are the most recent ones. So the most recent is how can students learn to talk about the relevance of anthropology? And it's a lovely piece by Shanastelle Brown and her colleague Zach Gilmore, an archaeologist, both at Rollins College. Then we had 2 others. How do you create a results-oriented resume? And how do I help my students find work? So just to put that on your radar, Matt tries to post them every other Sunday evening approximately. So I think if you looked the first of each every other week, you would see any new information. And then for those of you who would like to do a blog post on a topic related to careers in anthropology or training prep in relation to careers, please contact me because I would love to be able to have you do that. And here is the star of our show, I think, for this evening in terms of future looking down the road. And Ryle and Tim, I think I'd like to ask you to talk about this. So Tim, why don't you tell everyone the story of how this came to be?
Hi, everyone. I'm happy to be part of this. Elizabeth and I go way back from when she helped me in my career back in the 90s. I came to her house a number of times when I was writing up my dissertation and all that. And then of course, I had a career, 18 years in advertising, a long time. And I'm now a professor. I'm an anthropologist. I got my PhD at Brown, and I'm a professor at Brown University, a professor at Fordham University. And we're going to be holding, so we got talking, Elizabeth and I, about her building a career, her career readiness conference. And I said, well, let's just host it at Gabelli. So we're going to host this at Gabelli School of Business. I hope you all can attend. Please spread the word. Where it's a great location. We're right. Looks like we're part of Lincoln Center. So if you know where Lincoln Center is in New York City, we're right there. We're like right alongside of it, between 60th and 62nd Street. We have a beautiful campus there. Gabelli School of Business. We're going to be there. We have incredible Elizabeth and her contacts, of course. Jillian Tett is going to be a keynote speaker there. We're going to have a bunch of breakout sessions and workshops to work with both students and faculty. And yeah, definitely come. It's going to be a great event. What else can I say? What did I leave out, Elizabeth?
Well, you left out that this was your idea. And it was a great idea. So I just want to give you credit for that.
I'm happy to do that. Well, Bob, he's on, I think on the call here too. Bob and I hosted a summit, a business anthropology summit in 2019, and we were expecting 100 people to show up. We had 165 international people coming from all over. It was a really great event. So and Bob also is going to be a co-host. Bob and I are going to be putting together one of the workshops on how to straddle careers. Both Bob and I have worked in advertising and teach in academia. So how do you balance the two? We're going to be talking about that as well. So Yeah, there's Elizabeth has put together and Ryle have put together a really incredible program. So yeah, please come. We're going to send out information. Hotel rates are actually pretty good. The Hilton in Midtown is $199 a night. We'll send out all this kind of stuff. You can drive there. We're doing like in the whole 100-mile radius, trying to really market this out to get the news out. And we want this to be a great day, a great event.
Yes, and so, you know, it's the primary audience for this is students. And who are students? Well, students at all levels. We want community college students, we want bachelor's students, master's students, and PhD students. But we also want practitioners, particularly early career practitioners, and instructors. There is something for everyone at this conference. So I won't belabor it, but Ryle, maybe you could talk a little bit about why we think this conference is important.
Yeah, sure. As Tim and Elizabeth said, we're focused on those three groups: practitioners, students, and instructors. But I think we are particularly interested in the students. So we're going to do a sort of a set of email blasts out to all of the educational institutions and publicize this. And we are hoping to demonstrate, not just to talk to people about this, but to demonstrate that there are people within our discipline who are actively doing work outside the academy, doing a heck of a job on all sorts of stuff, having fun, making an impact, and enjoying themselves. And we want people to see that. We want to grow the community. We want to sort of, you know, add to our numbers, as it were. We're trying, you know, Elizabeth and I are trying to create a sort of an invisible college of people within the discipline who share an interest. That's why we describe the commission as an affinity group, because that's what it is. But in addition to that, we want to impart some practical stuff. We're not reading papers to each other at this thing. We are talking about what's actually going on right now, inviting comment to come back. There's lots of time in this workshop, in this conference, for networking and discussion. But we do have these workshops as well, which are very practically oriented. Tim mentioned the one that he's doing with Bob Murray. And I'm doing one, and Elizabeth's doing one, and these are all very practical things about networking, about, you know, learning on your own, and so forth and so on. So we're going to provide, I think, a lot of advice, a lot of resources, a lot of demonstrations for people. Instructors, I think, are going to benefit from this because they'll see what's happening. They will be able to use some of what we're doing at this conference in their work. I think they will be joining us, as it were, in doing more things down the end. This isn't the end of the commission. This is the end of the first phase of this commission. And from this point on, it seems to me we take off and we start doing even more interesting things. So that's what we're up to. And we're trying to sort of model professional behavior for the 21st century. You know, this isn't your grandfather, grandmother's anthropology anymore. This is new, and we're trying to demonstrate that to people. So that's where we are. I see Tracy has asked, are there any virtual events? There will be recordings of our workshops and our plenary sessions, and those will be available. We think available through some of the associations like SFAA or AAA, but we're not entirely sure about that yet. So yes, we're working on that. Anyway, that's probably all I want to say about that.
Yeah, but it's fun to come to New York.
Oh, there's that too, yeah.
You know, who doesn't want to be in New York City? We're a block from Central Park, so there you go.
Yes, so we have a few minutes left, whereas I know someone was concerned, Corliss, I guess, was concerned. So let's have Corliss say a few words first. I think that she is one of our newest members, and I'm just hoping that she'll be able to say something about her job in relation to this commission, what she sees the connections to be, and its usefulness for the next generation of students. Corliss, you've got the floor.
Hi, how are you? So I was invited. Rao came to, I sit on the board for the Association of Black Anthropologists. And Rao came to our meeting to talk to us at our last board meeting. And a couple of things that resonated was, I think one of the things that resonated was he was saying that some students said that they weren't, I guess, for lack of preparation in terms of like methods and so forth. And oftentimes students are, prepared, they're mainly prepared for academia and so forth. And there's so many other things that students can do. And I work in the federal, like I said, I work for the federal government, where you're in a place where there are so many areas that we can use anthropology because there's so much to do. But at the same time, there are quite a few skill sets that we need for in terms of methods, analysis, quantitative and qualitative, and so forth. And I one of the things that I said is, when I was working on my doctorate in anthropology, I think we took one, I don't remember taking a qualitative course at all. I taught myself qualitative methods, and we took one quantitative course, which was probably a refresher because I already had a degree in biostatistics. And so it really behooves us to really teach students to think outside the box, to go beyond the academic or the ivory towers in terms of what to do. Also, just to really think in terms of what is out there when we think about jobs in the private sector, the federal sector, and what that looks like in terms of also pulling them back into the meeting spaces and so forth. How to be able to, so that we can be able to share within those ranks and so forth. Because then once we get out there in those spaces, sometimes we do get those restrictions and so forth as well.
Great, thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. So we have just a few minutes left. Does anybody have any comments?
I just want to say thanks for sharing, Corliss, and a lot of what you just shared, I think really resonated with what we found in group 3.
Noel, you're muted.
I had an aha just now.
Mhm.
You know that I'm the face of the Napa Mentor Program.
Yes.
And I get questions all the way from high school to mid-career people who want to be or think they may want to be a practitioner. And I'm always looking for stuff, of easy things to send people to. And I've got 2 people, I think, right now waiting for a second note from me who want to know a lot of stuff about, what do you do in anthropology? All I have to do is just give them this website. I mean, that's going to keep them busy for a month learning a whole bunch of things that have not been available before.
Right, and I would also point them to practicinganthropology.org because of the many career development resources there, NAPA's website. So
is practicinganthropology.org free? Oh yeah, that's the Napa website.
Yeah.
I send everybody to the Napa website because they had to have been in the website in order to find me.
Yes, right. But then anyone who knows our website can access it, and it's anthrocareerready.net.
Yeah, but I'm going to call it out specially.
Okay, great. And just, we did have a comment when we were presenting to the AAA section assembly. So this was the the section presidents at a meeting in January that our website is not particularly set up at the moment for students. And I think that the person who made that comment was in some ways right on the money. It really is set up for the commission because we needed something to keep all of our stuff together. But over time, the website will evolve. So the main thing on the website right now for students, I would say, is that resource page. But there's also the blog. So those two things, I guess, would be the primary areas of interest for students. But of course, they're welcome to explore whatever.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah. Susan, Andriata?
Yeah, thank you. I haven't navigated the website in great detail since it was first shared with us. Do you have a page on there for how, like for templates for building resumes?
No, we do not. That's an interesting question. We can take that under advisement, or if anybody on this commission has such a thing or knows how to do such a thing, we're all ears. And you can either reach out to Susan or to me or to Ryle and help us out with that. Suzanne.
Yeah, quick question. How can we or I get a copy of materials to send to people to publicize?
Right.
Conference and so on.
Yep, I hear you. Tim has been asking me the same question. In fact, I think he asked it last weekend, like, where is the flyer, Elizabeth? And I said, Tim, it hasn't been created yet.
Okay.
So Tim then took it over. And he has this wonderful person that works in the business school named Ada LaHood, who is designing the flyer for the conference. And she's given us 4 different designs. We haven't totally finalized, but we will very shortly. By when, Tim? By early next week?
Yeah, we'll do it early next week. That
Okay.
sounds good.
And
All
so
right.
once that's finalized, it's going to go up on the website. Am I right?
Yes, it should go up
Yeah.
on the website. And Tim was also talking about posting the Eventbrite invitation
Yeah.
on the website. Is that correct?
We'll send out the flyer. It will have a link, and that will go to Eventbrite, and you can register there through the. It'll take you right to Eventbrite.
So if we,
Whether you're a student, whether you're faculty, you can register there. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was getting questions about how can I sign up when, so we've got people that are interested in going. Good.
I have a quickie question related to it. Given that your pitch is to really help students of whatever, can you make it cost affordable for them? So many are in debt. Can it be above free? But if the hotel is at $199 a night, that's pretty steep for students, even if you put 4 or 5 in a room. So as close to nothing as you can make it that's reasonable. I just, worry about debt indebtedness at this time.
right, I hear what you're saying. At the moment, we're thinking about $25 per student. It's possible that we could go a little bit lower. I don't want to go to 0 because I don't want to have the Zoom effect where a million people say they're going to come to your Zoom call and then half of that million show up. And, we have presenters who are taking, spending time creating their workshops and so on. So the money is one way to, in essence, guarantee a certain level of attendance.
Yeah, commitment.
Right, it's a commitment. And so that's why I don't want to go to 0.
Right. No,
However,
25 is very reasonable. My worry was to be in the hundreds, and that was
no. We're not making any money on this. This is all just to offer, what we have. And the presenters are, by and large, the presenters are from the New York City area. And by New York City area, I mean Connecticut, New Jersey, a part of Pennsylvania, and New York. So that's the area where we will draw from.
And lunch is included, right? So
Lunch is included,
Yes.
coffees.
that's
Yes.
part of the
included.
25, you know?
Yes.
Yes, and Tim is talking about a cash bar at the end of the day, which we might
Yeah.
need, who knows? Okay, great. Let's see, there's Bob has a comment in here, a suggestion. Okay, Bob, your suggestion in the chat, I think that's something that would be good if you could forward that to Kira and maybe have a conversation with her about that. She and Claire are working with something called Notion. And so whatever you come up with, it has to be able to be mapped onto Notion, if I understand how this thing works.
I can jump in here, Elizabeth. This
Okay,
is Claire.
Hi, Claire.
So Kira and I, part of the next phase of this project, we're working on adding in a submission form that'll go on the website. So when people do have ideas of things they want to add or gaps they want to note, they can pass that along to us, and our team can help address it.
Okay, so Bob, maybe talk directly with Claire then.
The other thing, if I can add just a word there, I think that Bob's suggestion is a really good one because it fits a lot with what we found out in the Delphi, which is that people, when they say to somebody, how can anthropology help us in our business? You don't just answer that by saying, well, you know, we have a unique perspective and a great sort of way of finding out stuff, blah, 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 blah. You need to provide examples, you know, and say, so for example, in this case, we did that. In this case, we did that. And I think that if we can get a set of those things from business, from international development, from the medical field, from the public administration field, into the website and therefore into the classroom, right, we will be able to help students answer those questions in a very concrete way. My respondents in Delphi were very clear with me. They said, people really want to know, what can you do for us? They don't want generalities. They don't want anthrobabble. They want specifics. So I think that is very much in that, you know, along those lines.
So we'll work on that, Bob. And Christopher, you had, I think, a comment that was similar. How do resources get added to the website if we see gaps? And there are gaps, no question. And so I think Claire's comment about posting some kind of a sheet in this next phase. I know that they have been trying to give Matt resources. Usually they hold some and then by the end of the month, they get posted again. So usually you can look by the end of every month and see new ones. But if you have specific resources, Christopher, or anyone else that you don't see, please help us. Many of us are cultural anthropologists. We could use more resources from the other subfields, no question. So I'm going to say it is now, we're at the top of the hour. I don't want to hold people over, but I thank you for coming and thank you for all your comments, and feel free to reach me or Ryle at any point. Thanks again.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you.